Hey guys, we're here today to do something a little bit different. We're trying to decide what our next build is going to be. So we came up with 14 different cars that we like. We're giving ourselves about a $30,000 budget to buy the car and include all the parts to totally finish the build. So you guys keep that in mind as we're going through this. And how we're going to do it is we're going to rate each car on a graph based on its awesomeness and its cost to rebuild. We want lots of comments and feedback on this, and for you guys to help us decide what goes where, and if you agree with us, and if you think it's feasible to do that for a $30,000 budget.
Or if there's a different car that you guys can think of that you know of that's going to be cool to watch get rebuilt, feel free to submit a comment down below and tell us if there's something else you want to see.
Or if you know of where a car is that you think, hey, this is on this list, and I know where this is, and it's not Copart, it's somewhere else, it's some private owner or something, just give us that information too.
And before we get started on this thing, and before we start talking about all these cars, we've still got a little bit of time before we can even get started on this whole project. And so we've got to finish up the 66 engine rebuild and paint the engine bay and get that whole thing figured up.
And for example, like on Copart, if you find one of these cars, sometimes it shows a future listing. It might be 2 months before the car even becomes available to sell. So this might, when I ask for your patience, this might be something that is 2 or 3 months ahead of time. But this is the end, you know, the next really cool build that we want to get to that gets us to the next level on our channel. So let's start. What do you think?
Let's do it.
All right, so we have the first car on the list is a Ford Mustang Boss 302, the years 12 to 13. What do you think about that car?
The problem with the Boss 302 is even though it's like a 7 or an 8 out of 10 on the awesomeness scale, the cost of rebuild might be a little bit higher because of it only made for 2 years, so parts availability might be a little bit more difficult. So
how much of the parts on a Boss 302 are interchangeable with a regular 12, 13 Mustang, like body panels and all that?
Oh, the body is almost identical. The only thing that's different between the Boss 302 and just a regular Mustang are going to be some of the spoiler aspects, front splitters, but just kind of the accent pieces. And then the Boss 302 intake is specific to the Boss 302. And then some interior pieces can be interchanged depending on what you want to do with it.
So if we're not talking motor, the availability of the parts would be pretty easy.
More or less, yeah.
Okay, so I'd say cost to rebuild is probably going to be closer to the low side, unless because we're not going to buy something that the motor is trashed on. We're going to buy something that's going to be body panels probably, and then awesomeness is pretty high.
Pretty high.
So what do you think?
I'd say right where you're at there.
Right in there.
Yep, I'd stick it right there. Especially when we can move these, the more we get stuff on there. Once we get some relative ability to judge.
Okay, let's go ahead and go through what Mustangs we've got first, since they're all going to kind of compare and contrast with each other. Here's the next one.
All right. So the next Mustang we've got on here is the 15 to 17 Ford Mustang GT350. So what do you think about that one?
Well, you were kind of worried about that when we first started, that it was going to be too expensive off the scale as far as to purchase it to start with.
Right.
What do you think of the price of those are?
So we were actually looking at them last night, and we found that the 15 to 17 GT350s right now, there's a couple actually on Copart that are not that much more expensive than the 10 to 14 GT500 Mustangs. And so there you can get one that's wrecked moderately bad, so you can still probably put $10,000 to $15,000 into it for probably in our price range. On awesomeness, I'd say it's up probably close to the top. I mean, out of all the cars that we could possibly work on rebuilding, it's up there. I'd say it's an 8 or a 9. The cost to rebuild though might be a little bit higher. It does have a lot more proprietary parts than just a regular Mustang GT from 15 to 17.
But as far as cost to rebuild, how does it compare to the Boss 302? It'd be about the same, right?
Even though we can probably only afford something that's 2 to 3 years old, parts are still being made.
So you would say about the same cost to rebuild, but a little higher on awesomeness?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so let's take, I'm gonna put cost to rebuild as just a twinge lower. I'm gonna put that right there because parts are still available and they're still being produced.
All right, and our other thing you guys know we're a little bit partial to Mustangs after watching our first episode, but our first whole playlist of about the 13 Mustang we did. So the next one we've got is the Mustang GT500, years 2010 to 2014. Now how does that compare to the GT350?
Well, the cool thing about the GT350 compared to the GT500 is the GT350 is a more track-oriented car, and so it's got magnetic ride suspension. It's naturally aspirated instead of supercharged, and so plus, I mean, depending on what your cup of tea is for looks, the GT350, some people would say is a lot better looking car than the 500, and it can take corners. The GT500 is more of a drag strip car, but it's got like almost 150 more horsepower than the GT350 does, and it's a little bit older, so we can probably get one initially cheaper.
So as far as placing this on our board, you would think that the cost of rebuild would still be close to about the same, but the awesomeness is a little bit less than the 350?
I'd say cost of rebuild is probably cheaper on the 500s.
Okay, so say a little cheaper, but the awesomeness is like right in here?
Yep.
So it's lower than the 302?
A twinge, I would go up a little bit.
Like that?
Yes, like that.
Okay.
All right.
So that's it with the Mustangs.
So the next one that we have here, following our pattern of American-made cars, we've got the Dodge Challenger RT/Scat Pack, whatever we can find in availability close to us. 2008 to 16, I think the closer we can get to the newer models, the better off we're going to be. They did little bits of front-end appearance changes and stuff from just that entire 8-year period. So
we wouldn't be able to afford like a Hellcat or something like that.
No, not yet.
In that price range. So we're going to try to get as cool as we could in those years 8 to 16. I'd say awesomeness compared to the GT500 and 350 and all that is less, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't say, yeah, I would say it's not as awesome. It's an entire performance tier lower than these, so I wouldn't even compare them.
Cost to rebuild would be cheaper probably.
Yes, it would.
So cheaper, so you're going to be lower on the left bottom.
So about what, like right there?
Yeah, I'd say awesomeness maybe lower.
Lower in awesomeness, so we're
A
talking,
little, yeah, about the same cost maybe as the GT500 or a little less maybe.
I'd say it's probably less. We're gonna put that right there in that part there.
So far that's the loser. Okay. Next we've got Acura NSX. Now I don't know anything about Acura NSX, so you're gonna have to take that one.
Okay, so the Acura NSX 94 to 01 is the generations we have on here. I like the pop-up headlights. I think those are cool. Those are starting to dramatically increase in value. So I mean, I've been looking at those everywhere, just on eBay, on Craigslist. They've done a couple at Barrett Jackson, and they're getting well up into the $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 price range, especially for ones in mint condition with low miles. So awesomeness, I think these are awesome. I think these are incredible cars. I think they're basically they used to be a poor man's Ferrari, and they're just cool looking cars. They're super long. They're aerodynamic. Newman drives one in Seinfeld. I don't know if you knew that. He pulls up in one.
Cost to rebuild?
Cost to rebuild is probably going to be high. I mean, it's been out of production for almost 18 years.
Honda parts, but still.
Yeah. So I mean, especially for one that's been out for that long, and everyone's trying to do what we're doing now with them and try to fix them up since they're such a high priced car now. So I would say awesomeness is up there, but cost to rebuild is probably going to be pretty significant. So what do you think? You want to put it on par with like between the 500 and the Scat Pack?
On awesomeness?
On awesomeness?
You're going to choose awesomeness because I don't know enough about it, so I don't even remember what it looks like. So
you're going to be the one to rebuild it, so I hope you know enough about it. Okay, so we're going to drop a little bit on awesomeness. We're going to probably put it a little bit over the Dodge Challenger RT and Scat Pack.
Would be quite a bit.
And cost to rebuild would be up there, so we're going to put that up here. It's all by itself, all in its lonesome.
And remember, when you look at this chart, the winner is going to be in here somewhere. The highest awesomeness with the lowest cost to rebuild. So that's what we're shooting for.
All right, next.
Next, for you Solstice Forum guys, we've got the Saturn Sky Redline. So this is like the Solstice we just rebuilt. The Saturn version, which I kind of like the front end of the Saturn Skies. 07 to 09 is when they made the Redline, I believe, which is the turbo version. So what do you think on that? Now awesomeness, this is probably not high awesome as far as like when you're talking about all these great cars.
I mean, if you're going to compare it to an NSX or a Challenger, yeah, it's not going to be as high up. But cost of rebuild is going to be super low, especially compared to those two other cars.
And very fun to drive because these are just a little Saturn or a little Solstice that I just redone is fun. It's just a base model and it is a lot of fun to drive. So
I took a Solstice for a drive today and it was a blast and a half.
So cost to rebuild is very low, probably like the lowest.
I wouldn't say, yeah, cost to rebuild for sure.
Awesomeness is going to be like in here, maybe.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right. And then our next one is on the same line as that. We've got the Solstice GXP, which is almost the exact same thing. So I would say those go on top of each other.
I would argue that the Solstice GXP is a better looking car than the Red Line, but that's personal preference because he likes the Sky better. I like the Solstice better.
I just like the front end of the Sky. I just think it looks, I don't know.
So we're gonna put it kind of right there. So the next car we've got up here, kind of following along the lines of the smaller sport convertible cars, is the Honda S2000, which was made in 2004 to 2009, which is that's the version that we can afford, or we think we can afford. So this was your pick, so tell us something about it.
All I know about it is I've watched a few other rebuilders do it. It's a really cool looking car, and Honda is, known for just lasting forever. The engines are super strong, and pretty sure they have turbo versions.
Yeah, they're a turbo car.
So I just wanted to try to get a Honda in there, and that's the one I picked. So I would say the S2000, they're available now. I've seen a few on Copart, and awesomeness, I would say it's probably a little higher than the Solstice maybe. Cost to rebuild would probably be a little bit more, wouldn't you think?
S2000 is going to be a little bit higher for sure.
So
I would put it on the other side of the channel. Yeah, right there.
Right in there.
Yep, right there.
Well, so far we haven't found anything that we've got really high cost to rebuild except for the Acura. Now that might change here.
Yeah. So the next car we've decided that we think we can maybe try to afford is an 09 to 14 Nissan GTR. And so these things
pushing the limit.
Yeah, these things, we would have to have one that's just the perfect deal at the perfect time in order to be able to even get close to affording one of these things. So they're bonkers fast. They're Nissan, so they're super reliable cars, and they're the problem with these though is that like everybody's done one. And so, but why shouldn't we? Because they're awesome cars. So, awesomeness, the cost to rebuild.
Awesomeness is way up there.
Awesomeness is up there. I would put it on par with the Boss 302, you think? And then the cost to rebuild is probably going to be up there by the NSX.
Yeah, probably.
So I'm going to put it, what do you think, right there?
I'd say it's a little bit higher than the 302 in awesomeness.
You think so? Okay. So
it's got like supercar status almost.
It does. Well, for sure for speeds, because the GTRs, especially in the 14 and upper range, they're 2.5 second, 3 second, 0 to 60 times, and so they're up there. So the only thing that the GTR has going against it is it's been made for so long, and the Boss 302 is a limited production. So that's why I had it up there so high. All right, and the next one. This is going to be my #1 pick for the entire project. I think if we can try to get one of these things, I think we should get them hands down, absolutely no questions asked. 94 to 07 Dodge Viper. And so we literally just finished watching one of these series on Alex Rebuilds. We've been watching his Viper series for going on, he just released his 18th episode for it, and such a cool project to watch, such a cool car. He said those things are basically just,
cars.
Glorified kit cars, because everything's bolt on, everything is replaceable. You can break apart, you just unscrew it, put a new one right back in. Up to the 3rd generation, they've got 500 horsepower, 525 foot-pounds of torque. They're manual cars. They got the sweet side pipes. You can get.
When you see one of those coming, it does not look like anything else.
Absolutely.
It is a Viper.
V10 power, and you just can't beat it. So on awesomeness, I said this is going to peak our scale. This is going to be the highest we can possibly get. Cost to rebuild is probably going to be higher than the GT350, you think? Or is it less?
It's going to be high. I'm thinking it's going to be up there, like over here somewhere.
Okay, so you're putting it between the GTR and the NSX for cost to rebuild. Okay, so awesomeness is going to be at the top of our graph there, and then we're going to put it between the NSX and GTR for cost to rebuild. Next one.
Ooh, the Corvette Z06, 05 to 16. Now this might be one of my top ones. I'm a Corvette lover. I had a 69 Corvette Stingray convertible with original side pipes, and I really loved it.
That thing rumbled, man, I'll tell you. Wake for the dead when you start it in the garage.
So any Corvette is awesome. That they've been kind of done to death on YouTube, but it's still a Corvette. when you look at 05 to 16, you're talking about the C6 and the C7. I would definitely want a C7 if possible. They're just awesome looking cars.
If you can find one.
Yeah, you can find them. I would say the awesomeness on this is probably up in the middle of these Mustangs.
I agree.
A little higher.
Mm-hmm.
And cost, I think it's going to be higher than the Mustang.
I think so too, because of fiberglass body. And so if something breaks on a body panel, we're going to have to majorly go through some effort to fix it.
We can learn to fix them. You know, the fiberglass, I've done fiberglass work before, but it's different and it's time consuming, and a lot of that stuff is glued on, you know, and it's not like you can heat it up very easily like we did with the Solstice and get the panels off. I mean, it's glued, like you just got to tear it off sometimes and then just buy new stuff. So, okay, so awesomeness is the Dodge Viper, hands down winner.
Yep.
But that's all second to the highest cost to rebuild. So that's probably, when we start looking, we could look for that, but the chances of finding it, you know, at the right price, because you'd have to get that cheap to be able to afford the cost to rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be our number one desire.
Yep.
Right? But chances are slim that we can do it.
So I'm going to put a list of our top 5 here based on the criteria we've given it. So Viper is going to be up here as in terms of awesomeness. And then the cheapest cost to rebuild is going to be the Saturn Sky. That's what we determined.
And the Solstice.
Okay, so we're going to do Sky, Solstice. And then we've also got kind of in the area that we were wanting to get something right up in here. That's the sweet spot when it comes to buying a car. It's having something cheap to rebuild and super awesome.
The closest thing to that is the GT350.
I think it is. And so we're going to put that on our list here too. And then, what else? The GT500? That's close to that same spot.
The next in awesomeness, I would say that we should go from the top down in awesome. I mean, that's what our desire would be for the most awesome car.
That's true.
So the chances of us being able to get it, that's what's all this direction is going to be determined.
Right.
So it should be Viper, GT350, then Corvette as far as what we want.
Okay.
Now, whether we're going to be able to afford that, that's very.
So I'm going to put Corvette on here too.
And I say we leave this up there for all you guys that have been watching us on the Solstice Forum. You can vote for those if you want to. You got to put a little banner on top of the screen here and let them vote.
So if you can just go up to the top right hand corner of your screen, you're going to see a little banner pop up right now. And then you can click there to vote to see which car you want. I'm going to probably put the top 5 in there, but if you have one that's not in the top 5 that you see up here, or if you just want to request your own, you can put it in the comment section and we'll go through and read those as well. So what we want to do for our 5th one, we're going to do the Boss 302.
You're there, the GTR, they're both, I would say GTR goes awesome, more awesome than 302.
I agree. Okay, so GTR. All right.
Although I've never seen another YouTuber do a Boss 302.
That's because they're impossible to find.
All right, so please comment below and tell us what you think of these. You know, if you see something that we have in the wrong spot on there, you think, no way, that cost to rebuild that is going to be way higher than that, and you forget it for $30,000 and there's no way you're going to do it. Tell us where we're wrong or what you think. Anything that you guys can add to it is really helpful, and we enjoy looking at the comments, and that just makes us want to do more on the channel when we see that other people actually care about anything. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, feedback is king. So whatever stuff you tell us is going to be able to direct us better in what we can do in the future. So,
all right, thanks.
Thanks for watching. After this video, make sure to check us out on Instagram, where we post behind-the-scenes photos, sneak peeks, giveaways, and information for future projects. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in and watching this week's episode of Rebuild It. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any awesome content. Have a good one.